Mark didn't want to sell his book on Amazon because of all the things that Amazon has done over the years, their business practices, employment treatment, a lot of the different things that Amazon has been up to. So Mark decided that is definitely not right for him. The problem is that Mark simply didn't have any other place to go, so he figured it would be impossible for him to actually get his book selling. Well, he was completely wrong, and that's one of the reasons why in today's video we are going to discuss how to sell ebooks without going through Amazon. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. So the thing was, Mark lives in Scotland, and about 6 months ago, he was working through his book. The book that he was writing on was in terms of visiting the Highlands, was the topic that he was looking at for his nonfiction book. It was a subject that he knew a lot about, and he figured this would be actually a possible book for him to get onto the market and selling if he could only figure out how to sell it without having to go through Amazon in the process. The challenge, though, was that he didn't want to go through Amazon. He wanted to see if he could skip the Amazon part, but still do it with self-publishing. He knew his book could be popular because of all the tourists that are now starting to come back into Scotland. In fact, I'll be visiting Scotland in not too long myself. And so I will not be visiting Mark, though, but while I'm over in Scotland, I will be around the Highlands and a lot of these areas where I could be able to see and get a better feel for what's going on over there. But the thing was, for his particular book, he knew that it would be popular and it would reach a large audience. But there wasn't another option, at least in terms of his understanding of about how self-publishing works. Or he could get it traditionally published, but then they would put it on Amazon and that would create a problem. So the first thing he decided was, I've got a great idea. He decided he could put the book into a format that he could, like a PDF, and put it on his own website. So that was the first thing, but then he needed a payment gateway and a lot of other things that are complicated that I work through with my students as well as we're moving to the advanced phases of self-publishing. But at least in the beginning, this is not something that's recommended. There's just too many things to learn, and you really don't have an audience. So if they're going to pull out their credit card on your personal website and start giving you money when they don't even know you, that's one of the big things with Amazon. And then the second thing he decided to do was he gave up on that one. And so the second idea was, well, maybe he could just print out his own books. He could use his printer and print out the Word document that he had been working from. But in terms of, he suddenly discovered in terms of the total amount of ink and in terms of doing covers, and this solution was also a terrible solution. Trying to print your own books is an awful idea. They don't look professional. Nobody's going to want to buy this. They need a professional look, which of course Amazon can do, but then you have to go back to Amazon, and that was where the challenge came. And so the final thing that Mark was looking at, though, was that we ended up doing a discovery session, and after that, he ended up joining my Self-Publisher one-on-one program, where we're able to take a look at his exact situation and walk him through the steps, following through on the roadmap, looking on a daily basis and seeing a little bit upon how things are going, and then meeting once a month for a Zoom call where we're able to discuss his specific issues. So the first thing we did was we looked at the landscape and realized Amazon is not the only player. They are number one. I recommend for all of my students to definitely go with Amazon, even if you're opposed to them, because the fact is, if you're giving up, wait till you're a bestseller and then exit Amazon. But in terms of in the beginning, the fact is going with Amazon isn't going to really destroy everything. But in the case of Mark, I respect my students' desires and their ethical feelings regarding different choices they're making when it comes to self-publishing. And if they don't want to go with Amazon, that's just fine, because there were 4 other options we were looking at in the case of Mark. The first one was Ingram Spark, which is a fantastic option. In fact, I make more money off my paperback books on Ingram Spark than I actually do on Amazon KDP print, which is really amazing. The second thing was Lulu, which is I use for hardback books, but you can also use for your ebooks and your hardback, of course, or your paperback if you want. But at least for the hardback books, that was the choice that I've traditionally gone with. Now, Amazon does have an option, but in the case of Mark, that wasn't going to help too much, since we already said that he was opposed to going with Amazon. Ingram Spark, by the way, also allows you to take your EPUBs right on in there. And then for max distribution of your digital version of your book, Draft to Digital is a great choice because they're on many, many networks except for Amazon, with some exceptions. You can also try Publish Drive and some others, but this is Draft to Digital would be the next pick of mine. And then finally, for your audiobooks, if you do not want to go on Amazon, that means you will not have a Kindle book. And without a Kindle book, you're not going to have a chance of getting an audiobook produced on ACX, which is also owned by Amazon Audible, right? And so you're going to go through Find Away Voices. And that was the thing I was telling Mark, was that, look, we're not restricted here just because you don't want to go with Amazon. There are a lot of other options you can go with. But the thing is, Amazon is the biggest and it is the best that you're going to want to go with if you're not opposed to Amazon for whatever reason, right? And the others are big enough to build traction, but you're going to need to give yourself a runway of about 3 to 5 years as you're putting out your books in order to increase the income that's coming in from these books. Unlike many of the fake gurus out there, I will tell you the truth. The truth is that most books, when they're first entering the market, are not going to sell thousands of copies. I do recall on some of my books, when I started playing the keyword games and understanding how keywords can lead to sales, I was targeting incredibly powerful keywords and resulting in books that could get me $1,000 a month in sales, which is absolutely amazing. But usually you're not going to guess these keywords because we want to write books in niches that are both profitable and also things we can do in the long run. So and keep on writing books, because as I mentioned, we're going to build a brand around your name and that micro niche that you're targeting. And so you're generally not going to be making $1,000 a month when you get started. And I just want to tell you, a lot of the fake gurus will tell you, oh no, you just throw it out there, you'll be making millions. And I'm just telling you the truth. It's going to take some time. You're going to have to invest that time in to make sure that you can build up off of that time. And so, but the thing is that in case of Mark, his whole thing started with just us starting with a discovery session, just a free one, as you can find below in the comments. You can check that out. And we moved into my one-on-one program where we were able to go deep diving into his stuff, and in order to develop that action plan to move forward and to get his business up and going. But where did Mark go from there? Well, the thing was, he started formatting in Juto, like I tell people, all my students are going through my formatting course on how to use Juto. And as they were moving through, he was able to format his book and getting it into the EPUB format so that he could get it out onto draft to digital and start making sales. And what happened? Well, surprise, surprise, there actually is a market for it, and we started seeing the sales coming in from his draft to digital account. In addition, he's now working on the paperback version, but it was so easy because Juto simplifies the whole process as we're going through that, and he's able just to click a single button and able to get his book onto the market very quickly. Now you have to keep in mind, in his particular case, his book was a fiction book, but the fact is that the methods that I'm discussing here, they would work regardless of the type of book you have. So even if you're doing short stories, it won't be a challenge at all, even though Mark was not doing on the short story front. But if you are, you should check out above here and where you can find out about get your short story published on, that's right, Amazon. And I will see you over there. Thanks.